But the last 30 years she spent basically in the field of education, different foundations, supporting different foundations all over the world. And I found a quote that I thought was very helpful from her and appropriate. And it says, "Never be limited by other people's limited imaginations. Never limit others because of your own limited imagination." And if we may have a moment of silence. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, next we have Ty Morrison. If you could come to the stage at this time and lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Just give me a second. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
I believe we have had an opportunity to review the agenda. Do I have a motion for approval of our agenda as stated?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Yes. Second. Roger. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. We had minutes from January 10, 2023, regular meeting, and February 2nd, 2023, which was a called work session. I understand we've had an opportunity to review those. Do I have a motion for approval of those as well?
So move.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Student of the month.
Our Student of the Month and Pledge Leader tonight, Ty Morrison, was selected by Miss Morris, school counselor, and Miss Montgomery, science teacher, for being an outstanding student. So we have a little bit to say about Ty, but I'm going to ask him to come back to the stage first. Ty's positive attitude is infectious. He walks into class every day with a smile on his face and an eagerness to learn. Ty strives to do his best on every assignment. Last semester, he earned A's in all of his classes, but it's not just academics that makes Ty such an incredible young man. Ty is friendship personified. We feel like it's his goal to know all the students in My Way by their first name. He also goes out of his way to make sure all students are included in group activities and will purposely partner with a student who might be a little timid to choose a partner. Ty is willing to help staff or students without being asked to do so. His kind heart always shines through. He has expressed an interest in working with students with disabilities as a future career, which we believe he would excel in this field. Ty is also interested in the trades, especially welding. Everyone, please join me in congratulating Ty Morrison as our Student of the Month.
For you, the Morrisville Graded School District Board of Education recognizes Ty Morrison as the Student of the Month for leading the pledge of Allegiance. This Board of Education meeting, February 14th, 2023. Thank you, Ty.
Any family and friends here? I'd like to give them a round of applause as well. Any family friends here as well?
That's my family back there.
All right, let's give them a round of applause as well.
Let's get up and snow back.
Tonight we have the honor of recognizing Nicole Lewis as our Artist of the Month. Nicole was nominated by Mr. Anselmo, and Miss Keating. Here's what they had to say about Nicole. Oh, well, first we'll let Nicole get up on the stage. Nicole is a passionate artist, and her drawings and paintings reflect this. She's meticulous in her work, taking the time to make each item perfect. She's hoping to go into the art field, possibly as an animation artist, to put her skills to work. She's always willing to help NF Woods in any way. Her art has impacted not just her peers, but the staff as well. Nicole has selflessly provided endless artwork for the My Way events, including the Fall Festival, Service Learning, the Honor Roll Lunch, among many others. Her hard work has made NF Woods a much more beautiful place. She is a shining star with a bright future. Everyone, please join me in congratulating Nicole Lewis as our Artist of the Month.
The Morrisville Graded School District Board of Education recognizes Nicole Lewis, Artist of the Month, Board of Education meeting, February 14th, 2023. There you go. Congratulations.
Any family or friends here in attendance that we could give a round of applause to as well? Well, you've got your teachers here, so let's give them a round of applause. Nicole brought a recent piece of artwork with her tonight, so we're going to share it with our board members.
Very nice. I love cityscapes. That's so cool.
Congratulations. Very nice. Very good. Thank you.
Good job.
Each month, we have an honor of recognizing a district employee who demonstrates strong professionalism and dedication to our district with the Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award. This month, we recognize Chris Moratori, TA bus driver at Mooresville Intermediate School. Chris was nominated by the MIS administrative team, so I'll ask Chris to come up on the stage. Here's what the team had to share about Miss Moratori. Miss Moratori is the true definition of a team player. She's always willing to step in and help out in any way possible, and is always positive about it. In addition to getting our students safely to and from school, she also does a great job assisting our teachers and helping our students learn and grow. We appreciate all that she does for our students, our school, and our district. Chris has been driving the school bus for MGSD for 17 years this August. The entire time she has served as a bus driver, she's provided an invaluable service to the students of Mooresville. Chris makes a special effort to get to know every student who rides her bus and treats all of them fairly and with respect. She has bus rules and sets an expectation that they're followed so that she can provide safe transportation to and from school. Chris has been a pleasure to have as a driver for Mooresville. In addition, with February being Love the Bus Month, we are proud and appreciative of all of our drivers, and especially for Chris for being recognized with this award. If everyone could please join me in giving Chris a round of applause.
So I have this plaque. It says, "The Mooresville Graded School District recognizes Chris Moratori for going above and beyond the call of duty, February 2023. Thank you very much.
Family and friends in attendance, if you could stand up and be recognized or wave. Next is our Spotlight on People, and we'll start with the Mooresville Graded School District graduation rate. Each year, the North Carolina Department of Instruction recognizes schools and school districts for various academic achievements. This year, Mooresville Graded School District received 3 awards related to our graduation rate. We are particularly proud of these achievements as we believe that our graduation rate shows a community commitment to education that starts when our students enter the doors in kindergarten. In particular, I'd like to highlight the collaborative effort between Mooresville High School and our My Way program that ensures that every student receives the support and guidance not only to graduate, but to be prepared for their future. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Simone Graham and Ms. Melanie Allen to come to the stage to receive our following awards. So we have a Certificate of Achievement for an outstanding graduation rate of 95.8%. We have a Certificate of Achievement for being a top 10 district for the highest graduation rate. We believe we're number 1 in that, but they didn't give us a certificate for that. And a Certificate of Achievement for the highest graduation rate in the small school district category. Let's give them another round of applause. Any staff members here from Mooresville High School or the My Way program, we'd like to ask you to stand and receive a round of applause as well. Tonight, we proudly recognize and congratulate 2 Mooresville graded educators who have attained their national board certification in 2022. As part of the certification process, candidates build a portfolio that includes student work samples, assignments, video samples, and a thorough analysis of their classroom teaching. Pursuing your national board certification is a significant time commitment and the highest credential in the teaching profession. At this time, I'm going to ask the following individuals to come to the stage. Josh Simpson, Mooresville High School science and chemistry teacher. And Kelly Nelson, Rocky River Elementary music teacher. And for Josh and Kelly, we have a certificate for each of them, as well as a name plaque that will go in front of their classroom so they can be recognized as a nationally board certified teacher.
Yeah.
That My Way support and these teachers that are getting nationally board certified are what make this job so wonderful and so much fun. That support is amazing. Thank you guys for being here and for doing what you do. We have our next meeting is March 21, 2023. So you guys make sure you got it in your calendars. And we'll be here again. Do we have any public comment, Counselor?
I don't have anything.
None? Okay. Items for approval. Doctor?
Yeah, first we have Ms. Davis with our proposed budget for the next school year.
So Chairman Whitfield, Dr. Gardner, and members of the board, in your packet, you received a copy of the proposed 2023-24 budget. This budget is to comply with the fiscal year 24 budget calendar set by Iredell County. So we did have a deadline. They needed this information by March the 8th. I will go ahead and put a caveat in this budget that there are still many, many unknowns. So the state has not passed its budget yet. We do not know what this will mean for employee increases. We're not sure what this is going to mean for our health insurance matching, our retirement matching. But this is the best that we were able to come up with at this point for the two major funds that are funded by Iredell County, which is our Fund 2 current expense and our Fund 4 capital outlay. This budget does reflect a few things that will be happening this upcoming year. We'll have our Selma Burke Middle School opening. Also, the second round of our ESSER dollars will be expiring this year, so this budget also considers that, as well as just some economic impacts that we continue to feel with supplies and materials and employee costs increasing. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I think we've all had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Davis. Do we have any further questions? We know that this also is a moving, living, breathing document that changes based on availability of funds provided by different folks that we have no control over. But as it stands now, do we need any further discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, based on information given to us by Ms. Davis and realizing that there's some information yet to come, I make the motion that we approve this budget for the upcoming year and realizing we'll need to amend it as it moves forward.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
A motion and a second to approve the budget currently as is, with the understanding that it's a moving, living, breathing document. All those in favor vote with the usual sign.
Aye.
All those opposed, I don't think there are any. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe Ms. Davis is next as well with a before and after school program rate increase.
Thank you. Also, yes, we do have a proposed increase for our before and after school care for the upcoming summer and starting with the 23-24 fiscal year. This need is due to continued increased costs associated with staffing and supplies. We have not increased rates for our before and after school care since 2018. Since then, we have seen a retirement matching rate increase with our employees of 5.64%, and with our health insurance matching costs, they have rose 12.8% increase. So we would like to propose that the before school care stay at the $125 a month. After school, go from $225 a month currently to $250 a month next school year. Before and after school from $260 to $300 a month. And the summer program this summer, 2023, from $160 a week to $170 a week.
Any other questions? I know we have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved, that we approved the rate increase.
Second.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have some field trip requests with Dr. Royal.
Good evening, Mr. Whitfield, Dr. Gardner, members of the board. We have 2 field trips presenting tonight. We will request approval of the field trips at the end. First, I'll go over the MHS Color Guard field trip. This is coming up in March. The reason for the request being brought to the board tonight, it will cross state lines. It is a one-day field trip on March 18th, 2023. It's a winter guard competition in Indian Land, South Carolina. It will be a day trip involving 32 students and 3 adult chaperones, and there are no costs associated with the trip for our students. The second field trip is an annual field trip with our NJROTC program. For as far back as I can remember, we've gone to the Summer Basic Leadership Training. This is in June 12th through 16th, 2023 this year. We'll have the training with 5 other schools at Apple Tree Campground in Topton, North Carolina. Approximately 20 Mooresville High School students will be in attendance with 2 staff supervisors, both male and female chaperones. The cost of the field trip is $200 per student with fundraising opportunities available. And again, as I previously mentioned, this is a leadership training that we've attended each of the past summers with our ROTC program. Again, this is an overnight trip, therefore it does require board approval. So at this time, we would ask for approval of both the field trips, first to South Carolina and the second one, the overnight trip in North Carolina. Any questions?
We have a recommendation for the Winter Guard competition and the Summer Basic Leadership Training. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right, we're going to ask Ms. Davis to come back up to the mic for a first read of board policy revisions.
Chairman Whitfield, Dr. Gardner, members of the board, we have 2 policies for first read this month. Both policies are due to internal review with our student accident insurance program. We wanted to make sure, thanks to Dr. Marsh, that we included the middle school and high school students are both covered. And then also with the school assignment, we wanted to make sure that the board policy aligned with the board's decision regarding these methods. So this is for first reading.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
All right, next we have a summer testing plan update for the board, and this will be a first read as well from Ms. Conley as well as Dr. Wade.
Good evening, board. Dr. Gardner. We just wanted to share a brief overview of some of our summer options that we're going to be offering students this summer. And as Dr. Gardner mentioned, we would like approval for our summer testing. And so Dr. Wade's going to share a little bit more about that. But just a couple of the other offerings that we're going to be looking at this summer. One is our Summer Career Accelerator. And this is specifically going to be for rising 6th, 7th, and 9th graders. It's going to be focused around STEM activities. Each of those particular camps will be around a week, an offer of a week. We have our Read to Achieve camp, which is going to be offered for our second and third graders that are still working towards proficiency with second and third grade reading. We will be offering 72 hours of literacy instruction just as we have in the past. It's going to be over the course of 5 weeks. Then also we'll be having our middle school summer camp. This is going to be primarily focused around students that have excessive absences, and it will be for the course of 2 weeks, as well as our high school summer program, which will also be for 2 weeks, but this will be more focused around credit recovery for our high school students. And then last but not least, we also want to continue to offer some of our Jumpstart programs. So we will be continuing with our kindergarten Jumpstart program, which will be 2 weeks, and we will identify those students based on our kindergarten readiness screener, as well as offering for our rising 6th and 7th graders, since the grade reconfiguration, as well as our 9th grader with our web links. And you can see this in your information, but basically all the offerings we're going to be located, we called it the complex this year, so they'll all be at Rocky River, MIS, and MMS, all the programs. Transportation will be provided, meals will be provided just as we have in the past. We'll be offering it Monday through Thursday, just as we have in the past as well. We will be off the whole week of July 4th. We've seen, especially for our Read to Achieve camps, that we have better attendance if we just go ahead and give that whole week off. And finally, we'll be having staggered starts. You can see that in your packet to be able to accommodate for transportation to make sure that we can get our kids on time and safe. And our summer graduation plan is for July 12th for our high school.
Quick question, Ms. Conley. For the Summer Career Accelerator Program, the CTE program, is there a cap on the maximum number, or what is the cap there?
I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Wade to answer that question for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
We're hoping to have about 50 students for each week there. We did not have any problem with that last summer, and enrollment has already been very strong, so I anticipate we will meet that.
Thank you.
All right, our summer testing plan is the portion that we are presenting for your review tonight and that we will request your approval for next month. I want to give a special thanks to Ms. Huffstickler and our administrators who worked tirelessly to make sure that we have covered all of the bases in terms of what the state allows us to do and not do in terms of our summer testing. This is additional testing that takes place after the school year has concluded, and there are some very strict requirements around it. Students must attend that in-person remediation, and then they are offered a second opportunity to demonstrate proficiency on their end of grade or end of course exam. This year, we have chosen to expand our summer testing opportunities to include not just our lower grades, where we have traditionally provided summer testing, sorry, Ms. Huffstickler, summer testing, but also for our middle school and our high school students. So we will be offering summer testing in all of our available courses. You'll notice that third grade reading is not listed on here. That is covered under the Read to Achieve camp that Ms. Conley already spoke about. We will be sending information to all parents in March after you have approved this plan to let our families know that these are the dates that are available. Obviously, families won't know at this point whether their students will be proficient or not, but they probably have a good indication based on their check-in data and other information that's shared by the schools whether this might apply to them. In May, we will send out prioritized information to those families who do qualify for this opportunity. The students who qualify for this will be students who were not proficient on their EOG or their EOC. They must attend the remediation programming before they can take the summer test. We are open to parents requesting students to participate as long as they meet that requirement, and based on our space available, we will do our best to accommodate those requests. We are prioritizing students who are within 5 scale points of proficiency on each of those exams. The purpose for that is, in some cases, the remediation window is very small, and we want to get the most bang for our buck and make sure that students aren't testing unnecessarily and that they actually are going to be able to be hopefully proficient that second time that they take the exam. We will look at additional recommendations if a teacher or an administrator, for example, feels strongly that a student just had an off testing day, doesn't fall in that 5 scale point window, but we have other data that indicates the student might be successful given a second opportunity, we will consider those as well. All of our testing will be done online, and in accordance with the state policies around testing, Ms. Huffstickler will train our school testing coordinators at each site who will be in charge of delivering those EOC and EOG exams. In your packet, you can see the dates and the times that we are proposing for the summer testing remediation opportunity. For 3rd grade math, 4th through 6th grade math, and 5th grade science, they will have 3 days of remediation from 8 to 2, and then 1 day of EOG testing. Due to being off on June 19th, the 4th through 6th grade reading will have 1 day less remediation than the other content areas. For our secondary teams, our school leadership folks wanted to have this summer testing opportunity prior to summer school beginning, so that will occur the week of June 5th. They are on a rotating schedule, so students will be eligible, if necessary, to take more than one subject area. If they are not proficient but are close into, they could, for example, test in both 7th grade math and 7th grade reading. We are doing 1 day of remediation and then 1 day of testing. So over that week, we will do 2 sets of 2. These dates are required to be outside of our academic calendar year, and we must conclude all testing by July 1st, and so that is why we have chosen to stagger them as we have done. We will again come back to you in March to request approval, but if you have any questions related to either the summer testing opportunity or any of our summer programming, Ms. Conley and I are happy to answer them.
I'm assuming it's still true that if a child retests and scores proficient, it counts for the student but not for the school.
Actually, it's the reverse.
It counts for the school and
it
not
counts
for the
for
student?
our accountability. It does not count in our growth. We are not able to change an exam grade at the high school level, but what we have looked at and worked with our school teams on is reducing the number of days they would be required to attend summer school if they failed the course, if they are successful on meet proficiency on the exam.
Okay.
It is unfortunate that we do not have any flexibility to change the grade if they are now proficient, but it is what it is.
Okay, please.
It will be reflected in the student's transcript,
Okay.
the updated score if it's higher than, and like Dr. Wade said, it doesn't count in growth. They only measure growth from the initial test, but it will count for the school and proficiency. And the student does get the higher score recorded after school on their transcript.
It just doesn't change their course average.
So when you talk about giving the dates in March, will you give the dates to the elementary children as well? Even though they won't know if they qualify for it yet, will you go ahead? Some kids will have an idea.
Yes, what our plan was basically this particular, we would be communicating this with all families, which programs we'll have and the dates and kind of some of those indicators. But we will not give an official invite for even our 2nd or 3rd because we have to wait until our EOY dibbles, which is at the end of April to the beginning of May. But we'll start sending invitations out as soon as our EOY dibbles. I think it's May 18th maybe, so we'll start sending them out pretty soon after that.
I will add that for the high school, first semester failures will already have that information, so they will already know that they'll be eligible. We did push the high school and middle school summer school back a week this year in hopes of helping with attendance. It's a very quick turnaround because we test in the last 5 days of the academic year for high school in particular, and with graduation, it's very difficult to turn all of that data around. Kids might not know they have to go to summer school until the Friday before they're expected to show up on Monday. So we decided as a team to push summer school back a week to allow for that summer testing and to allow our students who are coming to summer school some time off to refresh, recharge, regroup, and our teachers as well before they come back and begin that 2-week summer school.
Thank you all. And as we're aware, we can come, as you said, we can come ask you any questions.
All right, next we have our school improvement plan updates. We are excited about this opportunity that we have this evening to share our school improvement plan updates with you and with the community. For this presentation, we've worked to create a format that is aligned K-12 and that provides you with a transparent picture of our progress to date. The school improvement plan should be a living, breathing document, so you'll see that many of our schools have made adjustments since the last presentation in October. A lot of work went into our presentation tonight, so I'd like to thank Dr. Royal, Dr. Wade, and Ms. Conley for their work creating a streamlined format for our presentation tonight and for providing support for our school leaders. I'd also like to thank our principals, assistant principals, and their respective leadership teams for taking the time to review their plans and make data-based adjustments to best meet the needs of our students. And at this time, I'll ask Dr. Royal, Dr. Wade, and Ms. Conley to start us off with the district overview.
Mr. Whitfield, members of the board, Dr. Gardner, as you heard, Dr. Gardner gave a strong overview of what you're about to see. So at this time, I'm going to call up our Director of Elementary Education and our Director of Secondary Education. You've already heard from them this evening, Ms. Conley and Dr. Wade.
Good evening again. All right, this year we asked our principals to provide 3 types of update to you during our meeting. So first, you will hear from them a recap of the progress on their overall plan and a recap for each individual goal. We asked them to use the gauge indicators that you see on the left of the screen here to indicate for that goal whether they felt they were on pace to meet that goal, cautiously optimistic about their progress to meet that goal, or not yet on pace to meet that goal. In addition, we asked them to revisit the strategies and action steps that they outlined for you in October and provide a visual update there as well by changing the color of the action step check mark to indicate whether it had not yet been started, whether it was in progress, whether it's been completed, and in some cases that means while it is ongoing throughout the year, it has become routine and is in what we would consider almost a maintenance stage, or whether they have made a new addition to the plan or have chosen to selectively abandon a portion of their plan. As Dr. Gardner mentioned, these are living documents, and we want our teams to be responsive to the needs they see in their schools.
Okay, so we wanted to model and share with elementary and secondary, as our schools are also going to do. So these are some of the goals that we shared with you earlier this year that were going to be some of our priorities as we moved into this year. So for elementary, we are in progress with Letters Volume 1 implementation. We just had our face-to-face training yesterday for Unit 3, and so we have Unit 4 left to do for fourth quarter, and we will be halfway there. So we are in progress with that. Another goal that we had, and we are still in progress, is increasing routines for reasoning and math. We have been focusing on supporting teachers to implement 3-read strategies in their classroom to help with really understanding the problems before just attacking it with the numbers, and so really focusing on some of those problem-solving skills. We also just had our 6th grade teacher leader last week, and that was what our focus was for our 6th grade math. Next, we have motivating and engaging all learners through high-impact strategies. And so we have been really working on looking at some of Hattie's work with high-impact strategies and student engagement. That was our focus for 6th grade teacher leader that we had last week for our ELA, as well as some of our work that we're doing with our instructional coaches that are rolling out into our PLCs. And finally, we wanted to add an addition to the plan. And so you can see that we have added expanding enrichment opportunities for AIG and other high-performing students. We are very excited that we were able to bring Miss Amy Smith as part of our team, and she has been wonderful to work in our schools to offer some enrichment opportunities for our students.
I have one question real quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
The letters training and expanding opportunities, that's easy to quantify. How will you know if you have met your target in terms of increased routines and motivation and engagement?
Absolutely. So one of the things that is just really listening to I will say to our teachers, they have been looking at their math check-in data. We've had the opportunity to, actually today we were at Parkview and they were talking about how they have implemented, they've had PD specifically with the routines and 3 reads, and they have been implementing that in their classrooms. As far as measuring, that is something that we're going to have to continue to look specifically for their OA, their operations and algebraic thinking and word problems. That is something we saw from the check-ins, the first ones that they were really struggling on, and so that was something that we kind of came back to, realizing that maybe we needed to focus on that a little bit more based on some of the check-in data. And so we have seen a little bit of an increase with check-in too, but that's obviously something that we're going to continue to work on. Did I answer your question?
It just, I think, reinforces the fact that as we are building our new strategic plan and then subsequently we'll be working on new school improvement plans, that we need to make sure that we have truly measurable goals so that we know for sure if we're meeting our targets.
Yes, ma'am.
At the secondary level, a big focus for us this year has been on our curriculum guide writing that is taking place with grades 7 through 12 in all courses, not just core, but all of our elective areas, which really differentiates us from many of the other districts in the area. I want to publicly acknowledge the work that our instructional coaches and the reading specialists at Mooresville Middle have done, as well as Heather Cook, who is our CTE instructional management coordinator. They have created literally hundreds of documents that we have been using over the past required work days. We just completed our 3rd session, and by May, the last required workday in April, our goal is to have a completed curriculum guide for every one of our course areas. Electives, we will have at least one for each prep. Many of our elective teachers teach multiple sections, so they're working on one guide initially. We have really focused on SIOP training at Mooresville Middle School this year, and that is intentional to support not just our English language learner population, but all students who are struggling with reading, because SIOP strategies, which stands for Sheltered Instructional Observation Protocol, support all students, and it's just good teaching. So Mr. Kozel and I, as well as Ms. McComas and Ms. Allen at the middle school, have been working together to lead monthly PD for the middle school staff, and we are measuring that implementation through the homework assignments, where each month they have a task to go back and implement in their classroom, and then they come back and we discuss how that went at the following meeting. Another huge lift for us, and I want to now recognize Dr. Bost, who is standing, I believe, still here. Yes, and the rest of the administrative team at the high school. We have finally implemented our Blue Devil Block intervention piece. We were intentional in using the fall to build capacity and build knowledge to provide PD for our teachers each week surrounding social emotional learning practices and the intervention program and materials that we will be using. There was an intense period of scheduling in which we looked at every 9th and 10th graders' data across 10 data points to determine which students needed which interventions and to group them based on their need and set them up in groups with our teachers. Those interventions started on January 30th and will continue weekly from now until about the 2nd week of May. We have added a Elliott, which is our observation tool that is specific for Blue Devil Block, in which our administrators and coaches are doing walkthroughs targeted towards that time to make sure that we are seeing differentiated instruction, whether that be intervention or enrichment or remediation in our core classroom. And finally, our Check and Connect mentoring program, which is a Tier 3 intervention to support our students who have needs in attendance and behavior, as well as additional need for mentoring. We have fully launched that this year. Last year was a year of planning, and we are meeting with those students weekly. We are still working to increase our mentor pool there. We appreciate the shout out, Mr. Brawley, that you've been putting on Facebook, not just for our Mooresville motivators, but also for some of our Check and Connect mentors. We do provide predicted meeting time for them with their students during the intervention block at the high school, and that happens at various times at the middle school as well. So we are pleased with the progress there. Any questions for me?
It's not so much of a question, but I would like to say that we had a visit last week, and the intervention blocks at the high school kids were being very creative. So that was one thing that I was really impressed with, and I think my other board members were as well, because it was a chance for them to see them outside of the math problems, the writing, and things of that nature, and show their creative side a little bit while having fun. So kudos to you guys on that.
Before Dr. Rogers comes up and shares about Parkview, one thing we wanted to share with everyone is about our check-in data. So some of the data that you're going to be seeing our schools share, we have the check-in 2.0, which is new for this year. Our 4th, 5th grade, and 7th and 8th grade are on the check-in 2.0. Our 3rd and 6th grade are on the original check-ins. The big difference with the original check-ins for reading specifically is that it is cumulative, but it gets more rigorous from check-in 1 to check-in 2 to check-in 3. So you might see some drops in our 3rd and 6th grade ELA data specifically because of the that they are getting more rigorous from check-in 1 to 2 to 3 versus our check-in 2.0, which is new, which is what all of our grades will be moving towards next year. They are the same level of rigor across all 3. So that is the big difference in there. So you'll be seeing more of kind of those incremental increases with our check-in 2.0. So just wanted to clarify.
Is there a reason they chose, those grades to implement the new?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And math remains for both the original and the check-in. We call it the OG, but the original and the check-in 2.0 for math continue to be different standards from check-in 1 to check-in 2 to check-in 3. So it's not cumulative. It's based on a set of standards, and those change from each check-in.
Did this come from a concern that the regular check-ins were not predictive of how they would do on the EOGs? Okay.
Yes. Also, I think that their goal ultimately is to create something where students take the 3 check-ins and then it creates a personalized pathway for their end of grade test. So maybe they've mastered certain things on one of the 3 check-ins, and then every student would get a more personalized end of grade test.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So at the state level, they piloted in different districts over the last 2 years with the 2.0s, and then next year, like I said, they'll transition us to all.
So we just wanted to share, as multiple came up, that there's kind of 2 sets of different check-in data. Dr. Rogers?
Kind of wore taller shoes today, so it kind of works here. Good evening, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. Hope you are enjoying your day. All right. So for our mid-cap here, for the mid-year review, so far what we are most proud of, the progress that we're making here at Parkview, is that we've implemented our Patriot blocks and analyzing our student data during our data walls and quarterly data checks with our PLCs. Our teachers are really digging into that data and working together to collaborate and discuss the needs of all students, not just the students in their classrooms. So we're real excited about how well our Patriot blocks are going across all grade levels. Our biggest focus, priority for this semester, is really examining our subgroup data across all grade levels to ensure that our students are making moderate to high growth. That's kind of an area that we're looking at in all of our subgroups because we did have some dips in different areas, which I'll kind of highlight in a moment. One of the challenges when we kind of talked about what we didn't really anticipate this year was some of the personnel changes that we had very early on, and we've had a couple of different changes during the school year and some staffing changes, and really how that impacted some of our students. We weren't really prepared for just the connections and how that would impact the way that they felt. And so it really was how we had to be ready and prepared as they transitioned to make new connections with new people, and how we had to really work with them as they learned the new people that came in, as people left and people came. But what we're really excited about is the new staff that have come in over the last few weeks. We've had some new additions, and they've immediately jumped in. They're building relationships with students. They're connecting with teams, and that's been really neat just to watch how the students are responding to them. When we create our plan next year, some of the things that we want to try to look at is creating a tracking system for our parent engagement. So right now we're doing everything paper pencil, and we're like, we need to maybe look at how we could do a better way of doing that. So looking at how we can really keep up with that data in a more effective way. And then we want to look at how we can provide our teachers with release time to observe best practices and instructional routines that are being implemented into classrooms, because they get real excited when they're talking in their PLCs, and even when they're going out and doing those peer observations, and when they get to go into other classrooms, how excited they are. So we offer the time, but then sometimes they don't always take us up on that time. So we want to try to be a little bit more strategic about how we do that. We are most proud of accomplishing how we've adapted to our staff changes and overall changes, and our parent engagement and involvement has increased incredibly this year. So we're very excited about that. So overall, we are feeling cautiously optimistic about how well our plan is going so far. So goal 1 for this school year is looking at increasing our overall percentage of students who are at or above grade level, and we are measuring this by our end of year 3rd grade data, and also looking at our achievement targets for math and increasing that from 67.2% to 72%, and also looking at increasing our target for reading to 56.2% to 60%. And so far, we have accomplished that our students are understanding test-taking strategies. They are slowing down for test taking, and they are taking time to demonstrate their understanding in different ways as they are doing their testing. One of the key points that we've looked at for this is that 61% are meeting goal when we looked at our math check-in data for 3rd grade. Also, 65% were meeting goal on math check-in number 2 for 3rd grade, and we also saw a really big increase from our beginning of grade to our reading check-in for 3rd grade as well. And so in looking at our next step, we want to, again, we've done this now because we had our data meeting today with the district and also with our data review walls. We are reviewing our MOA data and reassessing our grouping of our students so that we can best meet our individual needs of all of our kids. And we're continuing to teach all students to read for understanding in both reading and in math. So not just making sure that they're understanding how to do that, but in the reading, but also in the math word problems as well, and reinforcing those strategies when they're sitting down to look at those assessments. And so right now, when we look at this goal, we are cautiously optimistic as we're moving forward. For goal 2, this is looking at our subgroup data, and we are looking at increasing this by at least 5% in order to decrease our achievement gaps. And so one of the things that we were really excited about was when we looked at our 3rd grade data, our ML subgroup is our highest subgroup in meeting the math check-in, and they were 100%. So that was very exciting. And one of the things that we looked at also was our math check-in. We had a small drop in our students with disabilities. So that's something that we want to really focus on, is again looking at all of our subgroups. So we want to see how we're regrouping our students, how are we addressing those individual needs, and how are we looking at our push-in versus our pull-out for both our students with disabilities, also our ML students. And we actually are looking at our Title I team is also pushing into our classes. So we are kind of looking at all of our students. One of our EC teachers, we of course have inclusion in 3rd grade. So of course she's pushing in, and then for some of her resource students, she's also doing a check-in for some of them in their regular ed classes where she can, and we're also trying to be very creative with how we're using our EC assistant to provide support for them as well. And so for this goal, we are cautiously optimistic. And finally, for goal 3, we wanted to focus on our parent and family engagement, and we wanted to look at trying to increase our total level of parent and guardian participation and engagement throughout the school year by 10%. And one of the things that we looked at is how we're very excited that we have accomplished our parent-teacher conferences this year. We've had our PTO meetings moved back on campus this year, and so they've been meeting monthly at our school. We had our PTO trunk or treat event. We've had our curriculum nights. We had our second and third grade Voce chorus concert at Christmas time, and we have all pro dads that have come back. So we've been very excited about those things that we've accomplished so far. One of the data points, and this is where we were talking about we had to pull out the paper and kind of look at all of our sign-in sheets, we actually went through and counted the adults that have attended these events. So we looked at last year, and we had 164 adults, and we counted 1 adult per child, attend our open house and our curriculum night in the 2001-2022 school year. This year, between those 2 events, we had 651 adults attend per child. So we were very excited about that. And then also that we have 100% of our families that are contactable in Parent Square. So it's really, we are making those connections and we're getting parents back on campus and involved in the different events that we're offering. Our next steps is continuing to make those connections with our PTO for the upcoming events that they have planned, and also some other events that we are working on as a school with the committees that we have planned. And so right now we are feeling that we are on pace to meet our goal for the school year. Were there any questions?
It's not a question necessarily, but I think that the parent involvement piece is something that all the schools are going to need to pay particular attention to, given the fact that it looks like the Parent Bill of Rights is going to pass, and that's a component of that. So I think coming up with ways of not only providing opportunities and encouraging participation, but actually tracking that. And, you know, instead of just counting heads, are we making sure that, you know, adults who represent
everyone,
different individual students are participating?
I agree, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Whitfield, Dr. Gardner, and members of the board. It is my pleasure to bring the mid-year recap for Rocky River Elementary School. We have reflected on our school improvement plan, and where we feel like we've made the most progress is in our early literacy instruction, and you'll see that throughout our discussions today, really embedding the principles of science of reading in our practices every day. And we know, we've talked about already, that letters training has been a big undertaking for elementary schools, and seeing that in our literacy instruction on a day-to-day basis with our phonemic awareness and phonics programs and Heggerty and Letterland, and the importance that takes in our literacy blocks, the literacy strategies embedded in our everyday literacy. And really, I feel like we've moved from a balanced literacy block just a couple of years ago, really now to a structured literacy block that focuses on phonics, phonemic awareness, and early reading skills. So I feel like we've made a really good progress on that. Our biggest focus priority for this semester is to continue teaching those foundational skills even as students get into second and third grade. We know that comprehension becomes more of a focus and more important and is measured in different ways, accountability and whatnot. So finding that balance, really, we know there are several students who still need that continued good phonics instruction, but we also need to address the comprehension piece. So really making sure that second grade's doing Heggerty on a daily basis, but that we see those early literacy skills embedded all the way through third grade. One challenge we didn't anticipate this year is one of our approved phonics interventions, Read Naturally. It was a research-based program, but we got into it, our teachers taught it, we collected data, and we reflected and realized that we weren't not getting the returns, or we felt we weren't getting the returns of growth that we had anticipated. So we did a phonics survey on all of our tiered students, and we found that to be the case. And so with the support of our C&I program, switching to UFly interventions which are more strategically aligned with science of reading. And so far, the results have been encouraging. So I think that's a good change on the fly that we've made. I think will make a difference. When we create next year's plan, collaboration has been a big key for the letters training, giving our teachers time to digest what they're learning, being able to collaborate with peers, implement best practices in the classroom. And so those discussions have happened on a regular basis this year, and we've embedded that in our schedule, in our school improvement plan. Next year, really giving them opportunities to get into classrooms and see those strategies implemented, see those exemplars that are across our school and across the district. Is certainly going to be a goal we're looking for next year. And then finally, what we're most proud of accomplishing this year, I did say that the buy-in around science of reading, core instruction, the data reflects that. We looked at our mid-year results from kindergarten last year. We're 26 points higher MOY this year with our students. We're 3 points higher in first grade, we're 1 point higher in second grade, and we're 17 points higher in third grade. So across the board, seeing growth in that literacy. Goal 1 we had was around proficiency for all of our students. We continue to establish that strong foundation, and one piece that we're really proud of accomplishing this year was our kindergartners. It starts in kindergarten, and seeing our students go from first benchmark 41% proficient to 78% proficient on the DIBELS composite is very encouraging. Another key data point we looked at was our MAISE assessment. That's our reading comprehension, the DIBELS portion for our third graders. We're at 73%, which is right at that target we set for 72% for our students. And then a very important next step is to continue to really use those screeners. We don't want to test students to death, but we want to make sure that we have the data needed to effectively intervene with students where they're needed. So we're using phonological awareness screenings, phonics surveys, letters surveys, to really look at, are the students appropriately placed, and then what interventions are they needing? Not just high, medium, low group, but we want to know, does the student need work on CVC words or blends or vowel consonant E or vowel teams? And then we put them in where they need to be based on those screeners. So we are cautiously optimistic that we're meeting our goal 1. Goal 2 is about our highest learners. So we looked at career and college ready students, our levels 4 and 5s. And this year so far, we've accomplished, I think, using Amy Smith, our district AIG specialist, collaborating with her. She does enrichment slides that our teachers are using on a regular basis. Also using our data to put kids in enrichment groups, and then even having those change as when we do our data digs. But Amy Smith's even working with groups in our third grade, so making sure those are flexible groups and we're giving students as much enrichment opportunities as possible. A key data point that we're looking at there is our DIBELS composite. At BOY, we had 126 students which were blue, and so they do blue, green, yellow, and red, and so blue being the highest. We grew from 126 students to 158 students, so it's a modest growth, but something to celebrate. And then important next step is, again, that flexibility that I mentioned. When we're creating our enrichment groups, just making sure that we use our data to push kids to the most challenging group that they can be in. And as our enrichment groups grow, I can tell that we're doing that. Goal 3 is about meeting growth for all subgroups. Last year we celebrated meeting growth targets for all of our subgroups at Rocky River, but we want to keep that as a focus this year. And so far we've been able to celebrate, accomplish high rate of growth using our iStation math school-wide. So levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 are high growth right now, rate of improvement. And we have mid-low growth for our level 5. So again, just showing us that we need to keep that enrichment group fluid and making sure that we're intervening with our highest learners. Key data point that we've looked at this year, our black students are our largest ethnicity group, and based on the check-in 2s, they did slip some. We were down to 38% proficient compared to our all group, which is 45%. And as Ms. Conley mentioned, as text complexity increases in that check-in 2, we did see some slip between all groups. But that same group had 92% proficiency in math compared to our 83% with our all group. So we're making, looking like we're going to hit our targets on some of our subgroup data as well. And then a most important next step is really just the value of high expectations and challenging all of our students, making sure that our underrepresented groups are placed in our enrichment groups and they're given the most challenging opportunities that they can access. And then finally, goal 4 is around our communication and family engagement. We did set goals of 98% contactability based on Parent Square and 75% of our parents participating on campus events. And so we did create a master spreadsheet where we have all of our parents listed with each student, and as they attend an event, we check roll and just find out who's been on campus at an event. So the first semester we had open house, we had playground ribbon cutting, we had musical performances, we had dance programs, we had the Boo Bash, and so we just very carefully looked at each student and said who's attended. And we were incredibly pleased to see that 93% of our students have been on campus at an event. And we threw out first quarter conferences because we know sometimes those are virtual or phone calls. And so, so that was really something to celebrate. Another key data point, 100% of our families are contactable through Parent Square, and we can tell that by the number of messages, direct messages that have been sent, almost 56,000 direct messages between parents and our teachers and staff. And then finally, our most important next step, well, we can backtrack and figure out how many didn't come, and we found out the 37 families that were not attending one event this year. And we have some off-campus events that perhaps we will bring them to. We have bowling, and we have a baseball night, a family dance luau that we'll do at the end of the year, spring curriculum night. And so with that few parents, we make personal invitations and make sure that we try to reach that 100%.
It might be interesting to also find out from them what's inhibiting
Keeping
them from coming, because that could be useful information for all the schools as we try to come up with strategies to get better parental involvement.
Absolutely. Is it the time that all these events are happening and I'm working second shift? And so we can absolutely do that with that number of students.
And also, I would say just get a couple suggestions from them, see what they're, interested in as well. That might be something that they, once you spark the interest, they may be interested in coming in and,
good suggestion.
Taking part.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And real quickly, when you were reporting the scores of the African American students and there was that big discrepancy between reading and math, are the math assessments at all the grades still heavily dependent upon reading skills, especially like third grade?
They are, and so, again, that's just a testament that the text complexity increases in the reading, because while we know we've got some work to do in reading, seeing that 38% compared to where we were in the 60s in the first check-in, at first is alarming, but then, we look at other things, dig into dibbles and other things, whatnot. But yes, it is heavily still reading, word problems in the math.
Right,
so,
okay.
Yep.
Good evening, members of the board, and Chairman Whitfield, and Dr. Gardner, and I hope you've had a lovely Valentine's Day today. I'm very excited to share with you some great things that are going on at South. So far, we feel like we've made the most progress in teachers being very attentive to the students' social emotional needs and providing those enrichment activities through our clubs. You got to see that instructional highlight. And then our biggest focus for next semester and even into next year, I think, we'll be digging into that subgroup data at all grades. And we recognize that there needs to be an intentional focus on our vocabulary routines and student engagement, especially developing lessons with high student engagement. We have started looking at Schlettke's levels of engagement and introducing that to the staff members. So we're looking forward to really diving into that. One challenge we did not anticipate is we had some staff changes in key roles. We have the loss of several teacher assistants and several retirements, and we had difficulty filling a few of those positions. But we are right back on track, and we'll talk about that as well. When we create next year's plan, we think that we need to look at our schedule. for more opportunities to have common and more effective planning time and additional PLCs. We want to embed a lot of that instructional focus and vocabulary routines and, like I said, that active engagement. Our teachers are really excited about the letters training, and they are using that knowledge and they are implementing those strategies in the classroom. And we are very proud of our success with enriching students through clubs and showcasing their abilities in a non-traditional way. And so overall, we are feeling very cautiously optimistic. So our first goal was that SES would decrease academic learning loss and implement strategies designed to address rigor, relationships, and social emotional learning. And we wanted to place our emphasis on our Tier 1 core instruction to meet our targets. And so far, we have implemented Haggerty K2 to help close that phonemic awareness and phonics gaps. We're seeing, like I said, many strategies from the letters during observations and walkthroughs. And one key data point that we've looked at is our NC check-in data. We are very excited about our math data, going from 59% to 74%. And then our reading data is still kind of just holding its own at 49 to 47% between the first and second check-in. One of the things that we have planned, and our most important next step, will be revising that remediation resource that we're using for those different groups, making sure that it's a database decision, looking at UFLI to really focus on those deficit skills. We also are using that real-time data for flexible groupings, both for remediation and enrichment. And then we have a vertical alignment meeting planned for March. And so right now we feel like we are on target for math, not yet on pace for reading, but we are cautiously optimistic. Okay, for goal 2, we will increase the level of proficiency in each subgroup. And so far, we have felt like we have accomplished a more effective MTSS process to provide more specific support for our subgroup learners. And then we are allowing, timely evaluations of data to make those intervention adjustments, and then also making sure that we don't pull students excessively from core, making sure that they have an increased time in core instruction so that all learners get that core. One key data point we've looked at is our DIBELS vocabulary at the MOI, that we were not happy with that proficiency data, and we recognized it was a big gap between our subgroups, and so we feel like we need to add more to our core instruction and as we're going through our remediation groups. So one of our next important steps is the interactive read aloud, deconstructions with an explicit vocabulary routine focus, and then pre-teaching of academic math vocabulary. We are showing really great growth in several subgroups in math. We're within 3% of meeting the Black, Hispanic, and the ML subgroup goals. And then we are really moving our students with disabilities. We can tell a big change in our DIBELS of an increase of 7% from beginning of year to middle of year. So we're decreasing those skill gaps. These are the kids who had literacy during their K first years virtually. So it's impacted them. For goal 3, we want to increase that parent engagement piece. And so far, we've accomplished our curriculum night, our first quarter conferences. We have several all-pro data events, and our Tier 3 parent meetings have been really going well. And we want to make sure that we are building more community involvement, more parent involvement, and getting parents into our school. We've been under construction, and that's impacted some of the larger school-wide events that we've had. But we did have our 143 dads for our daddy-daughter dance, and that's 25% of our population. So we are so excited about that. And we have our living history coming up next week. So we're going to also be tracking how many parents attend per student, so we can kind of look at how many families are we actually getting in. And like I said, our most important step is invite parents to be part of our upcoming events and second semester and track that participation and attendance. For our 4th goal, we want to provide opportunities for teachers, and this is based on our teacher working conditions survey that this had continually gone down over several surveys, So we wanted to optimize the time that they, minimize the time that they spent out of school to complete routine paperwork. And so, we have, so far, we have accomplished PTSO coverage on Fridays for letters training every other month and a free PLC for work time once per quarter. And like I said, the teachers are loving the letters and they want to dive into that and they want to have time to process that and talk about it with other teachers. So we're trying to build that into their schedule. One key data point we looked at is the Panorama Culture and Climate Survey that we just took. That qualitative data indicated that teachers need additional time for instructional planning. And we want to, our next step would be creating a staff survey to analyze the impact of the current coverage opportunities we've had. And so those things like scheduling for our 23-24 year, that needs to be investigated as well. We want to continue to move our PLCs to a better, more effective PLC based off teacher feedback. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Chairman Whitfield, Dr. Gardner. I'm excited to introduce our mid-year plan and progress from EMIS. And so far we have made the most progress on creating rigorous and engaging classrooms along with a strong MTSS process that helps us focus on all student needs. We have built great relationships with our PTO and with our families. One of the things we learned with adapting to Check-In 2.0 is there are almost no DOK1 questions anymore. So our students will not be seeing those right there questions on ELA. And so right from the beginning, we knew we had to dig in and create rigor from the start. And so with that rigor, we create these engaging classrooms. And I'm really excited with what I see every day on our hallways with how engaged and our students are and with the rigor that is throughout our building. We have also decided that we need to focus on looking at check-in data during PLC meetings to create informed classroom instruction, strong intervention groupings, and provide hands-on activities through small group sessions with tutors. One of the things that we have done this second semester is we have brought some more tutors on. Betty Schmidt, who has been with us for a long time, has just started, and she brings a wealth of knowledge, so she's extra support in the classroom. We've also been able to hire a math and movement person with taking away the bus TA, so that has been a great thing that has opened up our media center as well. So more hands-on in our classrooms, more students getting small group and one-on-one activities. Using this time really intentionally. One of the things we found out is not all of our teachers had the same understanding of the standard. So we're looking at check-in data, we're seeing that maybe OA is a problem, but does everyone understand and is on the same level of what does OA mean? What does that look like for our students? So we've incorporated that more into our PLCs. One challenge as well, as I think we've all had, is staffing challenges. And evolving SEL needs have been our greatest obstacle. Our students are continuing to deal with a lot of things emotionally, and so we are doing everything we can to meet those needs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But being able to have the staff in place with our staffing, our math and movement, has been a great addition to that. We do still have our 4th grade opening if you know any 4th grade ELA teachers. So, for next year, we need to know that we need to have a strong start on our screening. So Amplify got us off to a little late start this year with our dibbles and screening from the beginning, but we need to dive into that immediately next year, and then also bring that rigor from the building from the beginning as we have learned about the Check-In 2.0 and what our students will expect. And then start building those relationships from the start with our families and the community. We want to have more events at the beginning of the school year. We seem to have them kind of spread out, but have more throughout the entire year. We're extremely proud of our sensory classroom. our sensory instructor, and the relationships being built along with the strategies to help our students self-regulate, we were able, with the funding of PTO, to hire an amazing sensory instructor that is a graduate of Mooresville High School, and she has just really made our sensory room such an amazing place to visit. Our students are learning how to reflect, how to make other choices, and so that's been really powerful. For goal 1, our goal 1 was to decrease academic learning loss by implementing strategies designed to address rigor, relationships, and social emotional learning. As I've talked about, our very intentional planning in PLCs to increase the rigor and engagement. One of the requests we had from some of our teachers were, can we put the stuff that admin talk about at the beginning and instructional coach talk, can we put that at the end so we can really dive into our planning to begin with, because that's the most important part. So for some of our PLCs, we've gone ahead and done that, so they can just do the meat of the meeting at the beginning, and then we can even send certain things to them that maybe don't need to be discussed, such as dates, this is due, that's due. So our PLCs are ever evolving. Our key data point, we're really excited about check-in number 2. Our 4th grade, which really kind of struggled last year, is really coming together. And you can see we've had 13% increase, 6%. Math had an increase. Our 6th grade math had a 1% decrease, but our ELA 6th grade really has jumped up. One of the things we've noticed with 5th grade and 6th grade math is this is some of their hardest topics. They're discussing 6th grade as unit rates, ratios, and dividing fractions. And 5th grade, the second check-in was all heavily involved on fractions. So that's something we'll continue to scaffold throughout the year. And we did also notice that some of our students were getting tripped up on the vocabulary within the math test. So our ELA teachers are going ahead and building word walls within their classroom of commonly seen words that our students may get tripped up on that they said to us, we didn't know this word, I didn't know what it meant, I couldn't do the problem. Once you see a word that you don't know, it affects your mindset on that. So, and we are cautiously optimistic that we are going to meet this goal by analyzing academic and disciplinary data to fine-tune instructional practices and keep our students engaged throughout the day. With our goal 2, increase the grade level proficiency of each subgroup. With our letters training, we had a full day of training yesterday for our 4th, 5th, EC, and ML staff. And one of the things I noticed is how would our math teachers, yes, they're doing this kind of because they have to, but how are they going to take this information and use it in their classrooms? And in my PDP discussions and also just talking in math PLC, our math teachers are really taking that science of reading and analyzing how words like is affect a math problem, how words like the, how words like all are really affecting their math problems, and they're using that within their classrooms daily. And it's funny, I was in a classroom today, and a student was kind of arguing about whether a letter was a blend or not, which we had the same very discussion at letters yesterday. And so to watch that all play out and the students being able to learn from it has been really exciting. And then Ms. Burchett has been conducting a book study on culturally responsive teaching with our 6th grade and our enhancements. And the discussion and just the shift in thinking from that book study has been incredible, and it is really showing in our classrooms. Our percentage of students meeting the check-in goal increased in 38 of 48 subgroups. Some stayed the same, so we didn't have necessarily a decrease, but some stayed the same. With our 4th grade, we had 15 of 16 subgroups meeting. 5th grade was 11 of 16, and 6th was 12 of 16. And a lot of our subgroups that did not meet were in that math, and that is where we, in talking to students, realized that that vocabulary within those word problems were tripping them up, and where we've already put that plan in place. We're going to continue to use this data to infuse instruction with culturally relevant material. And we once again are cautiously optimistic. With goal 3, increasing parental involvement and feedback by offering more family nights and opportunities for parents to have their voices heard and contribute to our decision making. And we say from 60% to 80%, and I've been listening, what exactly does that look like? So I really like the idea of a tracking system to get. I do a parent newsletter, and I will get 2,000 hits a week on it, so I hope everybody's reading it. But do you really know how many people might be looking at it more than once or to check something? So we do have some great family nights coming up. We have our campus family night that's a Title I family night where all the classrooms will be doing different activities. We're actually going to have a STEM fashion show, which we're really excited about with some STEM creations they've made. We have our chorus singing at the ball game coming up. We're going to have a talent show. We're going to have an EOG prep night coming up. So a daughter date dance, an event at Fearless. So all kinds of different things coming up. We do send out parent surveys. And so we just sent out our second parent survey. Our first parent surveys that we sent out showed us that 97% of our parents feel welcome and well-informed at EMIS. And we did have questions that said, what inhibits you from coming to events? And some of the things like were work, were days of the week, were times. So we have also shifted some times of our events at night so we can make sure that more people can come. And so we've also found that it was important to do a diverse, range of activities. So with our date night, with our talent show, it's not all just academic, it's fun things that are letting our children show that they all have various talents, and so we're excited about that. And then from goal 4, teachers and school administrators will refine PBIS practices in order to reduce discipline referrals by 15% and increase favorable responses about managing student conduct. One of the things that we did was we have created a behavior solution team that Ms. Burchett does head up. And so we have members throughout our school that are a part of the behavior solution team. When we find that students are having struggles, we really dig into all the data and have discussions about what the best ways are to help that student be successful. And we have really seen that this is powerful for our students. We've talked about creating and staffing the sensory room that continues to evolve and develop. We did see that the district is now adding the sensory rooms throughout our district, so that's really exciting to see. Although our referral numbers have remained pretty steady, our days out of the classroom for OSS or ISS have reduced by 12%, which is equated anywhere in time from about 50 to 60 extra days in the classroom. We're seeing more computer violations this year than we did last year, and way less aggressive violations. So those things that we're putting in place, we're really seeing that are helping. We're going to continue to be creative with our teaching our students strategies for deregulation and managing emotions, and we will continue to have student surveys on what they like from PBIS. Our students love Takis, they love Rubik's Cubes, and they love spicy chips. So those are things that we're putting in place to reward our students. Also, on our most recent panorama survey that our staff got, we had as a admin team and as a leadership team about 82 to 89% favorable result right now. So we feel like we're heading in the right direction with the different things that we're doing. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Chair Whitfield and members of the board, I am very thankful for the opportunity to be the principal at Mooresville Intermediate. As you know, I've only been there a short time, so a lot of this plan is a lot of feedback from a very hardworking staff as well as a school improvement team. So we really dug into some of these goals and made this update for you. Okay, so mid-year, so far we've made a lot of progress. There's a lot of great data points. Some of our ones in our iReady math are really looking favorable. We're really proud of that. And then ELA in sixth grade, in meeting our goal, Ms. Huffstickler kind of looked at our old check-ins. So if they were the old ones, we kind of know where they need to get in order to have like a 95% rate of passing. So meeting the goal from check-in 1 to 2 on the sixth grade went up 20%. So that was a really favorable data point. Our biggest focus area this semester is retaining staff. We need some MIS veterans, some Bobcats to be Bobcats for a long time. So retaining staff, we're working on that through a positive school culture and more involvement with everyone and doing everything. So we're doing a lot of meaningful things to do that. One challenge the staff has had is obviously me and the leadership changing over mid-year. And then just the difficulty that everyone else mentioned in hiring mid-year. You know, you'll get some applicants that will come across and they're like, oh, this is for next year, right? No, it's for right now, but that's okay. You have a job, that's great. So difficulty hiring, especially in those regular ed positions. When we create next year's plan, we really need to focus on our morning meetings, or what we call connection circles in the morning. We really need to start and end our day better. We've been working on some little things to do that right now, but that's a need, as well as really revamping and looking at our overall PBIS for the school and having a structured plan that everyone's involved in. So those are a couple things that the team thought. And then we're proud of the change that we have gone through at MIS, but we've seen growth. We've definitely seen, we're looking at parent attendance, but before we get to increase parent attendance, we're looking for parent engagement. We've had more parent engagement in connecting with the classrooms and connecting with the teachers. So all of those things we're very pleased with throughout the changes. All right, so then our goal 1, this is to increase our proficiency scores in all of our core areas by 10%. And so far, we've accomplished much of this, so we're cautiously optimistic. The typical growth that we see in iReady, we're past the yearly growth, so we're really seeing a lot of growth, especially in the math area in the iReady, and that's in comparison to last year. And then 4th and 5th grade DIBELS data shows average growth of 5%. So those are two areas that we feel great about. One key data point that we've looked at is the iReady in math. We're up 15%, both in 4th and 5th, and up 19% in math in 6th grade. And then the 6th grade ELA check-in, 20%, just in that check-in 1 to check-in 2. Really proud of those 6th graders. And the most important next step, the teams have talked about a few things, definitely more strategic in our vocabulary within not just our ELA and being strategic in that, but also within that math core instruction. So we're working on and talking about that in the PLCs and making sure that that happens in the classroom. And then remediation in our Bobcat time, as well as we have some after-school tutoring opportunities that the staff is pretty excited about. And then throughout my time in the PLCs, one thing I've encouraged and also purchased is anytime I hear about anything that's hands-on with math, fractions was a big thing this quarter in both 4th and 5th grade, and making sure that we have the materials in the students' hands as well as the teachers' hands. So we've made some great gains there, and we're going to continue that next steps in hands-on math. So we're cautiously optimistic on goal 1 and 10% in each core area. Goal 2 will increase our subgroup proficiency score by 10% from the previous school year. We're on our way. We have some small gains of 3 and 4% in most subgroups. We need to make sure that we continue to track. And so on the school improvement team, we have goal teams, and they literally have all of our subgroup data, and we divide it out, and we think about those strategies and then bring those to our professional learning communities. So we're going to continue to do that. And then we've had SIOP, kind of a bridge version of that through our staff meetings. So that is something that I know the secondary is doing, but we've seen some great success with some of our ML students. Some of those data points in our 5th grade ELA, our multi has gone from 17 to 45% increase. 4th grade math, our Hispanic population, 19 to 41. And then 6th grade ELA, our MLs, went from 0 to 38% increase. So some of that has to do with some of that PSYOP training and continue to look at the data and have those discussions. And then as we dug a little deeper, it does have to do with the relationships. And we've done some strategic things with the teachers and working with each other to help kids. And certain people have different connections with students, and we really focused on that. Our most important next step, continuing the PSYOP professional development and implementing engagement strategies that come from those things. And so we're going to do that through our PLCs. The other thing we've done is Ms. Conley's been in a few of our PLCs that needed a little restructuring. So we've restructured the agenda, but within the agenda, more deeper talks on those engagement strategies. What do they look like? Some of our experts, some of the people that are getting some of those scores are sharing a little bit more in opportunities, and so we're reflecting on that. So some of our PLCs have shifted around a tad in order to meet this goal. So we're cautiously optimistic on goal 2. Goal 3, we'll reduce the number of office referrals by 10% from the previous school year. So far, we've accomplished identifying our repeat offenders. We've determined different behavior plans, different services. I know since I've been there, we've taken a couple next steps is providing education in a different way for some of those students. So we're hopeful with a couple new hires as well in order to have some mentor and other support in place to help our repeat offenders. So we're working on that. We are not yet on pace with our referrals. As you can see, 304 was last year to 441 at this time this year. So we have seen a decrease on the bus. First, shout out to the transportation department. Our buses are running on time. They're getting home on time, very efficient, and that goes right with the behavior piece as well. So I know you don't normally hear that, so we have seen a great increase with our bus drivers and consistency there. We need to work on the repeat offenders, as I mentioned. We have brought in we're calling him a proactive coach, and he's going to do a little men in the making and kind of get that up and running again. We haven't had that, and a couple other strategic things that he's going to provide, and some other opportunities within the PLC for some PD. I think we're getting there. And then the other thing that we just did today, we did a reset with all the grade levels, and all the admin run around to one of the grade levels. I went around to my favorite 6th graders, and we just kind of reset them, and we gave them some incentives. We gave them some opportunities, and told them about some of the things we're hearing, things of rumors and spreading things like that. And try to give them an incentive until spring break. We have a dance set up, and then after that, we're going to really implement our PBIS on monthly, quarterly rewards, and helping them through some of the process that leads to some of the referrals. So I hope to see a decrease in this next quarter. And I mentioned that the focus on the interventions for the repeat offenders, as well as that PBIS for the core, really getting some things in place. We have so many kids doing the right thing, so we want to make sure we emphasize that. But we are not yet on pace for goal 3. Goal 4 will increase parental involvement in school activities by 50%. So far at MIS, we've had our open house, we've had curriculum night, we've had conferences. We have not yet, coming up in March is math night. We've had fall fair, not yet night of the arts. All Pro Dad, we've had a few of those meetings, and we've had father-daughter dance in a couple weeks. The key data points that I could find, and like everyone else, I was mentioned to Dr. LaRusso, we need like a turnstile, like when they come through, so we can really document these things. But we need to all kind of get together on really making sure we document. So what I found was they had 80% based on the check-in for open house, 16% attendance for curriculum night, And then one of the things that I've tried to do is just increase our overall communication, our school pride, and obviously social media is a big part of that. So a data point I can point to is we've had 10,000 plus Facebook reaches, many more than before, and over 100 more page followers in a month. So, just like I said, not quite attendance yet, but engagement, and we're working on some of those things to get people in the building. And one of the things that I really want is the volunteer piece, and I've worked with our PTSO to try to offer some of those things and really encourage people to come into the building to volunteer. And I think your child does better if you volunteer, and then I know as a principal, other children will do better if we have more support like that. So we're cautiously optimistic that we're getting the troops together and working on this parent engagement goal for Goal 4. In Goal 5, like I said, the positive school culture as well as retaining staff, those are my two top goals. And Goal 5, the school improvement team is working on retaining 80% of our teaching staff. So in order to explain this, we're doing small, meaningful things in order to prove, so we don't want to stress anyone, but we do want to really work on school culture and really make it a positive place. And from what I've seen and experienced, that's what it's been in the last month. So we're going to continue to work on those little things, such as the different food things, but how about recognizing birthdays, both staff and students, and doing that in a meaningful way, and just reaching out, being visible, both for parents as well as staff, and trying to engage the social committee is called the Sunshine Committee, and engaging them and asking the staff, like what would engage you? What would a positive school culture look like? So we've done things like we did a step bet. We have a walking team. We've added a water cooler. Just whatever comes up, and really trying to say yes and approach those things. So I think they've been favorable. We've had the Panorama School Culture Survey, 72% favorable on perceptions of school leadership's effectiveness, and then all other measures were really high as well. So we're digging into that as an admin team and then as a school improvement team, and really looking at that culture survey. And then our next step, just retaining staff. So I've met with everyone, and now we're in the post-conferences and any other time that we're meeting, and really talking with staff, like what do you want, what do you see for next year? And we're going to have our allotment meetings, and coming up with a plan to move forward, and making sure that teachers feel welcomed and positive and are working hard, but also they have career goals, and seeing if we can mesh those career goals together in order to retain, like I said, some of our Bobcats. So not yet on pace for that goal, but we're working on it. Questions?
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't know if it's for you or you, it might look a little silly with the retainment, 80%, we're gonna have some shifts.
That's what I was.
Grade level, so how do we adjust and account for that? I hate for you not to get credit, or all of you not to get credit for retaining, when we know there's gonna be some shifts. Right. So I don't know who that goes to, but I wanna make sure we note that somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, I do think that that's a unique situation for us, and we'll have to look at that. And it could be that Dr. Catone retains staff, but they're assigned to another school, so that would certainly count for them.
Yeah. Staying in Mooresville maybe is part of this goal, since we're having all those shifts as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do want to say I've seen such an increased presence on social media, and it looks like students and parents are excited. And I even see staff members, reposting things and encouraging engagement and participation. So I think you're on the right path.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen from the community is just the overall building relationship piece back at MIS. I think that's huge based on the influence and impact, from not only you, but the teachers, the staff, and just the overall energy. Pulling into the parking lot and having energy when they get out of the car all the way into the building. That's huge. I mean, that's a great start to the day, and it's a great way to finish the day. So kudos to you and the staff at MIS. Definitely see a huge impact on, the numbers and the percentages, and I'm assured that you guys will do well to finish out the school year.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Whitfield, Dr. Gardner, members of the board. I am happy to be here to share the successes and struggles of Mooresville Middle School over the first semester. We have a lot of work to do, both the rest of this year and in the future, and I'm eager to share with you the steps we've taken. So far, we've made the most progress on taking steps about school logistics and policies to minimize distractions in the classroom. We've seen a lot of success with our new cell phone policy, our AirPod policy. Teachers are very happy that kids are more focused on the lesson at hand. I and the cafeteria am engaged with students a lot more. Students are engaged with each other a lot more instead of watching TikTok during their lunch break. So I like to see that social engagement on the rise. That's a very positive thing. We've also enjoyed our loss of privilege policy that we've implemented from the high school. We've kind of borrowed it from them. We have a lot of students now, 8th graders specifically, talking about how they want to make their behavior turn around so they can attend end-of-year field trips or the 8th grade semi-formal coming in May. So a lot of positivity there. Our biggest focus priority for the next semester will be instructional rigor and relevance in the classrooms. As you'll see from some of our data, we still have some work to go on standardized testing and our growth. But we also believe we need to set the stage before some of those instructional tools could be implemented. A challenge we did not anticipate, as with many other schools, is resignations from staff members. I think we had about 10 members of our faculty resign or take a long-term absence, and that was a big hole for our staff during the first semester. Luckily, we filled most of those absences, which is great. We have a very strong team moving forward, and I'm excited about that. Next year's plan, we really want to look at fewer goals that can be a school-wide focus. I want to take a page off of the steering committee and really think about what can I ask every single student and staff member in my school. Can they say what our school goals are? Is it a unified front? And that's my goal moving forward for next year. Most proud of accomplishing this already. Improvements in staff feeling of belonging and cohesiveness. We've done both a panorama staff survey and we've done a school improvement team site-based survey that show teachers are feeling heard. There are still some behavior struggles for sure, and there's still some issues they want to address, but they also feel that leadership team and the school improvement team is listening to their feedback and making changes, and that I think is a positive step in the right direction. For goal 1, we're looking to increase our school overall performance grade by 6 points from 54 to a 60 to be a C school. Currently we are a D school. We'd like to take a letter grade move forward. We have changed logistics of the school day. We've changed our master schedule to move our intervention period later in the day, so it's 9 o'clock and 9:40 for 2 different grade levels. We're also using our elective team teachers twice to both build relationships and to give extra smaller classes that intervention period. One key data point we've looked at is our goal scores and check-in 2. The goal scores are 55%. That number indicates the strong percentage that students will face mastery on the end of grade test. We actually have scores of 20, 28, and 11% for 2 reading, ELA 7 and ELA 8, and 1 math. So we're below the actual goal that we have. Math 7 was at 54%, so right there. So 3 of the 4 core subjects that we're testing show that we need additional math and reading support. The big thing that we did to combat that is to implement our Exact Path program, which is an individualized learning tool. We're using intervention blocks. Students take a diagnostic and it places them at their grade level where their gaps are in both reading and math, and they progress at their own pace to earn trophies and to master some skills they may have lacked either with the pandemic or in past classes. We would say we're cautiously optimistic on making the proficiency growth we're aiming for this year. Our second goal is meeting EVOS growth. We're looking to get above a negative 2.0. A positive 2.0 to negative 2.0 would be meeting growth, and we were at negative 7.5 last year, so we have a long way to go, but our goal is to meet growth this year. How will we do that? Well, first of all, again, we have implemented the Exact Path program from Edmentum. 4 days a week, students are working on their individualized learning path We also have support from Edmentum, who makes Exact Path, to provide incentives. Like, for example, today was our reward day for January. So the 2 classes in 7th grade and the 2 classes in 8th grade that earned the most trophies per student had a donut day, and we celebrated them by putting them on the news, social media, taking pictures, and really encouraging their progress. That's been a really strong success. A key data point we've looked at is how much the students are using that pathway in Exact Path. Our goal is to be about 1 trophy or 1 skill pass in math and 1 in ELA each month. If they do that, Edmentum says that we should see robust growth on the end of grade tests. So far in January, and this data was pulled on January 31st, we had 997 math skills mastered, and over 1,800 minutes on task, and 2,100 reading skills mastered. The Edmentum people, when they met with us, said they were very floored by the number of reading skills that were passed in 1 month of using the program. So that's a really, really positive goal, I think. We're going to keep celebrating the students that are doing well. We also have teachers meet with kids individually each week to talk about their learning path, see where they're struggling, and to provide guidance and extra support. And that all happens in the intervention period. Our next important step is to maximize core instruction time as a result of the new bell schedule. That's only happened since January. We've given 5 extra minutes to each core class, which we think is important. That, alongside the intervention period, which is refocused on academics 4 days a week, has been a positive. We also are incorporating, of course, Club Day once a week, which really has been a positive morale booster for our kids and a great time on Wednesdays for kids to enjoy themselves during the school day. It's not always about the rigor in the instruction. We want to give them some time off and time to be a kid as well, and that's what Wednesdays are for. We're looking forward to that tomorrow. We would say that we're cautiously optimistic on that goal. Finally, our Goal 3 recap talks about our subgroups and closing the gap for our Black students, our English language learners, and our students with disabilities. Our goal is quite ambitious, but we feel like it can be done. We're looking to close it by at least 10 points during the current school year. So far, we have accomplished, again, implementation of Exact Path 4 days a week. That's a big program we're doing school-wide. We really truly feel that by rising the tide, all boats will rise as well. So we're hoping to have every single student refocus on math and reading goals 4 days a week with their teacher's support. A key data point we've looked at is, unfortunately, we did see a decrease in these student subgroups in 5 of 6 subgroups in ELA 7 and 8. Our reading score specifically, our Black students in ELA 8 went up from check-in 1 to 2, but every other subgroup went down from check-in 1 to check-in 2 in reading. So that's a renewed focus for us for sure. We're looking at that data specifically and seeing what can we do differently. Our most important next step is the fidelity of the Exact Path program and the rigorous core instruction. We are definitely refocusing on Elliott walkthroughs as an admin and instructional team. We're also doing walkthroughs and fidelity checks of the time intervention periods to see how is that going. Are kids responding well? Are the conferences happening between teachers and students? How is that progressing? We would say, because of our data, we are not yet on pace, but we are taking some strides in that direction this year. Questions from the board?
I don't have I guess it's not so much of a question. I'm looking down at your strategy that says increase the sense of belonging. What are some things that have you heard from the feedback from the teachers and that you've seen in your time as far as the I guess the overall sense of belonging? What are you hearing from them as far as, a way we can improve in that area?
I think that number one, our staff togetherness has, according to our panorama data, really improved this year. We have a renewed culture committee that focuses on staff togetherness activities. We also do a bonding experience or a kind of a team building strategy for each staff meeting that we do. We've done activities this year such as bowling, a bowling excursion, a corn maze excursion, a backyard barbecue, things like that that really bring the staff together and let them get to know each other on a personal level. We feel like that's very important because to work alongside someone as a team, you really have to get their back in all ways.
Relationship, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. We also hear from teachers that the responsiveness of admin to hear them out and to involve them in the problem-solving process has been a big win for us this year, and we want to continue on that track second semester.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Gardner, Chairman Whitfield, and members of the board. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm a little under the weather. I've been the one coughing in the back, so I apologize if I have to take a moment and catch my breath. But I'm happy to be here to present My Way's progress at the mid-year mark. So far, we have made the most progress on conducting a needs assessment through our school improvement plan process and collaboratively revising expectations for staff, parents, students, and just the school as a whole. As I probably mentioned in the fall, we had a lot of position shifts, so we really looked at this year as kind of our restart year and did a lot of revisions in our student handbook, our parent handbook, and just revisited as a school what we were trying to accomplish. Our biggest focus priority for next semester will be, and current semester actually, will be implementing Blue Devil Block to meet the social and emotional needs of students and just continue to focus on increasing our EOC scores. One challenge we did not anticipate is how difficult the Blue Devil Block would be for us daily. Kids come in and out of My Way all day. If you've ever been there, sometimes it's like a zoo coming in and out. But adding that extra block, although we felt it's very important for the social and emotional, it's really hard for us with the shuttle buses and the transitions. But we spent all semester trying to really kind of perfect that. When we create next year's plan, we've learned that we need to ensure that all our performance indicators are reasonable and attainable. I think we learned this year that it's good to set the bar high, but as we really started to dive into data and look at our goals over the course of the fall semester, we might have got a little too ambitious on some things, so I think that was a good lesson learned. We are most proud of accomplishing the fact that we had a 100% success rate with the induction process. We implemented a mandatory orientation this year for all parents, and everybody showed up. It was phenomenal. We were ecstatic. So we did that again second semester, but we added a day or a time period for our Spanish-speaking parents because we ended up having a lot of referrals for second semester whose parents only speak Spanish. So that ended up, we worked with the interpreter, so that was good as well. The other thing that we're proud of for this past semester was that we had 77.6% of our students passed all their classes with at least a 70. So we were really proud of that. That was huge for us. And overall, we are feeling cautiously optimistic. Our first goal deals with providing engaged learning environments with high expectations for students. So far, we have accomplished forming relationships with outside agencies and our continued emphasis on individualized student scheduling. One of the things we really did this semester was focus on our relationship with Mitchell and beyond what they offer as an associate's degree. We really focused on the trades. We had a host day where everyone came from Mitchell from every department, financial aid, admissions, their trades director, and one of our teacher's assistants is really partnering with them to get students where they want to be, whether or not it's welding or masonry or nursing. So we really focused just on Mitchell this semester and are going to broaden out to some more agencies second semester. We had it was great for us that Ms. Morris transferred into the counseling position from the main campus, so continued with, she kind of brings 20 years knowledge from the main campus, so we just didn't miss a beat with individualized scheduling and really providing for what our kids need on their daily schedules. One data point that we looked at under this goal was that we actually exceeded the goal on the number of Elliott observations that we had put into place, but I have a smaller staff, so that's a lot easier for me to do than it is for a lot of the other principals, but we find that we do a lot with that tool together. We're able to meet weekly if I'm able to do Elliott's that week, so we really like the tool, and we found that we had increases in high expectations and active learning environments across all teachers since August. So that's one of the things we've been focusing on, and we're real happy about that. Our most important next step for Goal 1 will be to just continue with our Elliott observations, grow on that, and provide consistent feedback on a weekly basis. I'll start this semester doing observations with our staff so they can evaluate each other on using the Elliott tool. So, and again, we have a small staff, so we can do some of those things that is harder for the larger, for the schools that have more teachers. For goal number 2, we want all of our students to have the ability to form healthy relationships with peers and adults. So far, we have accomplished making strides in our students' attendance and advisory. That was a big goal for us this year. Our students were running all over town during advisory last year. And so, and one of the data points you'll see in a minute is 90% of our students had 2 or less absences in advisory this semester, so we're really proud of that. And then also analyzing our Tessera data for our student needs in social and emotional learning. We're smaller, so we were able to really break down the social and emotional needs of each individual student, so we're just fortunate that we could be able to do that. And then another key data point was that 50% of our students participated in service learning. We did a lot of service learning in my way before COVID, and we got away from that, but we, as a staff, we feel really strong about that. So we started this semester solidifying some relationships, and we've partnered with the Summit Place, so we just baked cookies for them, and the kids went and played bingo. And then we've also added my sister's house, the Battered Women's Shelter that's in Iredell County. So we're starting to form those partnerships again. And our most important next step for this goal is just implementing our SEL curriculum. We purchased a pilot through Edmentum to meet our social and emotional needs, and then Ms. Morris, our counselor, went through and created a group of modules for every single one of our students, and then we looked at the Tessera data and added an individual module or 2 for each student. They don't know that, but for each student based on what their scores reflected on the Tessera. So we're excited about what we're going to be able to do during the BD block with that this semester. Goal number 3 focuses on increasing proficiency scores on our end of course test. Oh, yeah, this is a hard one for us, but so far we have really started to get more comfortable with, don't think our teachers were used to really doing a lot with the check-ins, and so we've started participating and making sure we're diving into the data with the check-ins. Specifically in biology and math for first semester, we don't teach English 2 until this current semester. We did increase our biology EOC from 0 to 17%. I know that's a small increase, but it's still an increase that we're happy of. But as far as the data points, it's important to look at, we had 5 students within 5 questions or less of being proficient in biology, and 3 students in math 3. And I know that's not a lot, but the 3 students in math 3 we were really proud of because we haven't had a math teacher in 2 years. So we're really piecemealing what we're doing in math across the board. Our most important next step will just be analyzing our check-in data more and providing review opportunities during our Blue Devil block before exams. So we will stop our SEL before exams this semester and everybody will pitch in to help every teacher with review for the end of course test. And then lastly, goal 4 is just focusing on that individualized plan for every student to continue to maintain a graduation rate at 95% or above. So far, some of the things that we have accomplished is we decreased our discipline referrals from 90 in first quarter to 56 in second quarter. So that was huge. We've really started to do a lot of alternative type things with disciplining, so we keep students more in the classroom instead of being out of class. And again, just solidifying that partnership with Mitchell in the areas that we have. Our key data point under goal 4 is that we did have 27 mid-year graduates and we did only have 1 dropout. I'm anticipating only 1 dropout this semester. I hope that doesn't happen, but it's looking like, but that still will keep us definitely above a 95% graduation rate. And then our most important next step will be to continue to set clear expectations and consequences as well as focus on attendance. We continue to struggle with attendance. We go to houses, we aggravate parents on a daily basis, sometimes on an hourly basis, but it is still a struggle. Attendance is the #1, I would say, referral issue for us. So, any questions?
No, I'm just impressed that you get your Elliott's done because I have this recurring nightmare where I have Elliott's to do, which I've never been trained in, and I can't get them all done.
Well, I always say though,
Still.
I have far less teachers, so I don't, but yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
Not 1 cough. Thanks, you guys.
Good evening, Dr. Gardner, Chair Whitfield, and members of the board. I am here to present Mooresville High School's recap mid-year. So, Mooresville High School this year has worked really hard. Students, staff, everyone has had the theme of all in. We not only are just saying all in, so today I'm going to tell you how we are all in to what we're doing. First thing, so far we have our most progress on our Blue Double block. This year we came up with a new schedule where we wanted to build in interventions within the school day. So we are proud of that. This Blue Double block has allowed us to provide interventions to teachers. They received their PD in the fall during that block. We were able to maintain 100% planning free for the teachers. So we used the Blue Double block in order to give them the PD, and they were able to use their planning to do nothing but plan. And it's one thing that they wanted to focus on this year. I do want to give a shout out to our ICs for providing that planning and facilitating that PD. I want to give a shout out to all the staff members who stepped up to cover, because it has been a struggle with the amount of subs that we have, but everyone stepped up and the teachers had that this year, so we are glad to have provided that for them. This PD was allowed us to lay the groundwork to provide the teachers what they needed in order to provide the enrichments, the remediation, and the interventions that they are doing this semester. So teachers had time to practice and utilize that during last semester. Our biggest focus this semester coming up, which we are in now, is we have now started that intervention block. It started the last week of January. We were able to identify 200 students based on the 8 data points, and we focused it on literacy. So that is what is centered around. The one thing that I want to say with the 200 students that were identified, in 2 weeks, we wanted to meet with every one of those students. Because it's not only we're going to give them this intervention, they needed to know the why and the purpose behind that intervention. So in 2 weeks, all admin, all counselors, Ms. Colleen Kennedy, Ms. Tracy Willis, we met in ICs, we met with 200 students in 2 weeks. We made sure they knew the why behind it. We made sure that parents were contacted. We made sure that everyone was all in before we started the interventions. We also want to utilize EVOS data more effectively to assist in identifying students and subgroups so that we can basically give instruction and tailor it to the needs of the students that are in our classrooms. So we want to focus on that this semester. One challenge that we have ran into, you don't know what you don't know, is that when we implemented the BD block, what we have found out is that we have a number of online students, CCP students, students who are, have internships, and so that has given us a little bit of a challenge. We have worked around that challenge this year, but going forward next year, we want to focus on making sure when we look at our master schedule that we are doing a better job of scheduling those students in and making sure that we have the proper place. You know, all students go here that are online, CCP students, make sure we have a checkout. We're looking at where they park, if we put them in one parking lot so that we can kind of migrate who's going in and out at one time. So that's our focus moving forward to next year. We also next year want to make sure that we train teachers on EVOS earlier and that we get that information out faster to them. We started meeting with teachers maybe mid-October, and we want to see if we can do something faster to help them facilitate what EVOS is and how to use that in their classroom. We are most proud of the all-in mindset. As I said, teachers, staff, students have all bought into that. We see a reduction in the discipline. Notice I did not say perfect, but it has been reduced in that discipline. We make sure as administration we're visible in the buildings. We're moving in and out of classrooms. Our SROs has helped us a tremendous amount this year in doing that. We have built a stronger relationship with the My Way program. I know Ms. Allen and I speak on a regular basis each week just to make sure we check in and we make sure that we know that our students are all of our students. We're all in this together. But we have teachers over cross-curriculum giving this intervention, facilitating this intervention. This shows students that it's not only English. That happens in English. It can happen, PE teachers are giving it, admin is giving it, ICs are giving it, science teachers are giving it. So everyone has bought into this mindset of everyone is all in. Overall, we are optimistic and we're very excited about the school year. We do have some bumps in the road, but we have learned to come together and get over those humps. Goal 1 this year, we talked about Mooresville maintaining our B performance, and in 3 years getting to that A standard. So far, we have accomplished, like I said, implementing that BDB block and the intervention block. But what we're going to do is, as administrators, we want to make sure that we're getting into those classes during BDB time and during those interventions to make sure that those remediation and that enrichment is taking place in those classrooms. One key point that we would like to look at is our fall EOC results. Biology was 54%, English 2 was 57%, Math 1 was 38%, and Math 3 is 65%. Our most important next steps is ensuring that our administration, we provide appropriate feedback during our intervention times, making sure that we're giving teachers praise and making sure when students are working on projects, we go in and we see what they're doing. We want to make sure that we're giving that to them and making sure that they're reinforcing the strategies that our ICs taught them in the fall semester. But we are optimistic about that goal. Goal 2, MHS will exceed growth in all identifiable subgroups. So far, we are using EVOS to help us meet the needs of all students in every subgroup. Teachers know how to identify those students using that EVOS. One step that we want to know beyond that is teachers, we want to make sure they're not only identifying those students, but they're actually using that data to see how many students are high flyers, enrich those high flyers, how many students need that additional remediation, and making sure we do so forth. One key point that we've looked at on our fall EOC, all 6 reportable subgroups averaged a higher percentile than the EVOS projected. That lets me know that our teachers are growing our students. And we talked about our most takeaway for next year, just making sure we dig a little deeper into that EBOS data from there, but we are cautiously optimistic on that goal as well. Goal 3, MHS will increase our subgroups. MHS will increase our subgroup performance for each subgroup by 5 points. So far, we have accomplished majority of the students we noticed that we identified for interventions also were part of the subgroups that we intentionally need to improve. So we are optimistic in helping those students with literacy will also lead to helping them improve their test scores overall. One key point that we've learned this year is that our EML students, a direct population increase at Mooresville High School this year. We have 83 students this year. 19% were proficient on the fall EOC, and it was the lowest subgroup performance. What I have asked for from the district, and they have been great about it, is we needed an additional ML teacher. We were granted the position, it is out there, and we're still looking for that ML teacher, but I do think that will help going forth. We're also gonna look at vocab and making sure that we get our ML teacher the vocabulary that we're utilizing in those classes, biology and English especially, so that they can also reiterate what is used in those classes. Our most important step in this is that POCs will discuss students' performance and growth through check-ins, but we will make sure that we put a focus on our ML students and making sure that we meet the needs of them and we're doing everything that we can in order to help them grow. And we are optimistic about Goal 3. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for the mid-year plans. It's exciting to see the progress that's being made, the commitment to relationships, and look forward to the updates and the continued growth of our students for the entire district. And thank you for all those that presented today and for all the untolds that participated and helped make this, this mid-year a success so far. It is now time for us to go into closed session, and I just had that document.
Chairman Whitfield.
Yes, sir.
Could I say one thing real quick?
Sir.
Throughout the presentations tonight, I heard a lot of, small wins. And so I just want to celebrate everybody that's in the stands as far as your hard work, your efforts, and all that stuff, because the small wins now mean big wins later for us.
Yep.
And so I want us to understand that we may have small growths, but the percentages that I'm seeing, and I'm sure my colleagues can attest to that as well, it'll be big wins for us later on. So don't, when we look at the small wins and the small percentage growth, that's fine for where we are now. We just got to keep pushing and keep getting over the hump to make sure that we have those big wins in the end. So kudos, hats off to you guys. Job well done on your presentations, and thank you for all you do.
Again, it is pursuant to GS 143-318.11, Subpart A6 and A3. It is necessary for the board to go into closed session to review personnel and consult with the board attorney. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move to a time of closed session for the reasons that you stated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
I guess you wonder where I've been. I searched to find the love within. I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let go. My friends wonder what is wrong with me. Well, I'm in a daze from your love, you see. I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let go. Some people go around the world for love, but they may never find what they dream of. What you won't do to do for love. You tried everything, but you don't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. My friends wonder what is wrong with me. Well, I'm in a daze from your love, you see. I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let go. Although I only want the best, it's true. I can't believe the things I do for you. What you won't do for love. You've tried everything, but you won't give up. In my world, only you made me do for love what I would not do. Made me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would